Henry Winkler's parents escaped Nazi Germany, but couldn't escape calling their son "dumb dog." His childhood was filled with shame. School was torture. He couldn't read well or understand math. Then came Hollywood. He could barely ride the motorcycle that made him famous. His relationship with other cast members was not what it seemed. Strange decisions by TV executives changed his life forever. The truth about what really happened to Henry Winkler would break the hearts of millions. Henry Winkler was born on October 30th, 1945, in Manhattan. His parents had escaped Nazi Germany just in time, in 1939. They left everything behind. His uncle didn't make it. He was delayed and was killed in the Holocaust. That tragedy never left the family. It was like a shadow hanging over Henry's childhood. His father rebuilt their lumber business in New York. His mother worked there too. They believed safety came through money and education. But Henry didn't fit their plan. School didn't make sense to him. He tried hard, but nothing seemed to work. His grades were poor. His parents didn't understand why. They called him "dumb dog" when he failed. They took away his TV, stopped him from going out, punished him again and again. He wasn't lazy. He just couldn't explain what was wrong. His house wasn't calm either. His parents fought often. Loud arguments filled their home. Henry felt small, like he could never do anything right. By the time he was in high school, he carried deep shame. He believed he was stupid. No one knew he had dyslexia. He couldn't read well. He couldn't spell. Math was a nightmare. Teachers sent him to the corner. Classmates laughed when he stumbled over words. He never told anyone how much it hurt. He had no idea he had a real condition. He didn't find out until he was 31. His stepson got diagnosed first. That's when Henry finally understood. It wasn't his fault. He said later, "I wasn't stupid. I had something with a name." That moment changed everything. It explained why school had always been so hard, why he had to memorize everything instead of reading. But even before that, something inside him refused to give up. At age 14, he made a decision. He wanted to become an actor. His parents didn't like that. They wanted him to join the family business. But acting felt different. When he got on stage, the shame disappeared. He wasn't lost anymore. In 8th grade, he played Billy Budd in a school play. People clapped. For once, he didn't feel broken. That applause stayed with him. He kept chasing that feeling. He got better at memorizing scripts. He found ways to hide his reading struggles. In high school, he joined discussions to avoid written work. He knew how to perform, even in class. His charm became his shield. He didn't stop after graduation. He applied to 28 colleges and got into only 2. One of them was Emerson College in Boston. He picked Emerson and studied theater. Just in case, he also studied child psychology. He almost failed the first 2 years, but something clicked on stage. He starred in Peer Gynt. His teachers saw what regular classes couldn't: real talent. He joined a fraternity, found friends, and slowly built confidence. He graduated in 1967. Years later, the same school gave him an honorary doctorate. That same year, he went for something even bigger: the Yale School of Drama. It was a long shot. The audition was tough. He had to perform Shakespeare. But when the time came, his mind went blank. He forgot every line. Then he did something bold. He improvised. He made it up on the spot. Somehow, it worked. The judges saw his raw talent. They accepted him. It was the break he needed. At Yale, the pressure was intense. Scripts were hard. Reading them took him days, but he kept going. He used his memory and his instincts. If he forgot something, he improvised with confidence. Teachers didn't notice. Classmates admired his energy. He said later he had never read a script exactly as written. He just did what worked. In 1970, he earned his Master of Fine Arts. Out of 25 actors, only 11 finished the program. He was one of them. That same year, he was picked for the Yale Repertory Theater. Only 3 students got that chance. He earned $173 a week. The shows were intense and demanding. Shakespeare, Brecht, modern plays, experimental pieces. He played everything. He worked nonstop. It became the perfect training ground. Even then, dyslexia stayed hidden. He had to prepare harder than anyone else. What others read in hours, he took days to memorize. When scripts didn't stick, he made things up. He got so good at it that no one knew. When he later performed in Neil Simon's plays, he asked for the script months early. That's how he coped. In the fall of 1971, Henry Winkler thought his big break had finally arrived. He had just finished a steady run at the Yale Repertory Theater, earning $173 a week, and was cast in Moonchildren at the well-known Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. But what started as a dream turned into a nightmare. After just 3 weeks of rehearsals, the director, Alan Schneider, fired him. The reason cut deep. Winkler was never meant to stay. He had only been a placeholder until the director's preferred actor became available. Winkler was stunned. He later said it felt like his brain had turned to cream cheese, and the director's words sounded like they were coming from far away. Heartbroken, he packed his snow tires back into his car and drove back to New York City, crying the entire way. That lonely ride home wasn't just about losing a job, it was about losing belief. He kept thinking, maybe he just wasn't good enough to make it. Maybe he'd never act again. But Winkler wasn't ready to quit. Back in New York, he came up with a plan. If serious theater work wouldn't pay the bills, maybe commercials could. Between 1971 and 1973, he landed around 30 commercials. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him something every actor needed: steady income. With that cushion, he joined the Manhattan Theater Club and performed on stage for free. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about getting better, staying in the game, and proving something to himself. At the same time, he joined an improv group called Off the Wall New York. It was a smart move. Commercials gave him freedom. The theater gave him credibility. And improv stretched him in ways scripts never could. Together, it kept him growing in every direction. Then came his shot at Broadway. On March 11, 1973, Winkler stepped onto the Broadway stage in a play called 42 Seconds from Broadway. For most actors, that moment would be unforgettable. But this one was unforgettable for the wrong reasons. The show opened and closed on the same night. Just one performance. All the hope, all the effort, all the dreams built up for years, gone in less than 24 hours. Winkler promised himself something that night. One day, he would make that right. He wasn't going to let a one-night flop be the headline of his story. That same year, he started breaking into film. He landed a role in The Lords of Flatbush, a gritty story about Brooklyn greasers set in the 1950s. Winkler played Butchie Weinstein, and one of his co-stars was a then-unknown Sylvester Stallone. The low-budget film gave him screen time and experience. Around the same time, he picked up a role in Crazy Joe, playing a character named Manny. These weren't Hollywood blockbusters, but they mattered. They gave him a new direction. He still struggled with auditions, especially cold readings, because of his undiagnosed dyslexia. But he learned to work around it. He found his own way of understanding scripts and showing emotion. The jobs kept coming because people could see his raw talent, disguised behind quiet anxiety, but impossible to ignore. That summer, something unexpected happened. His agent kept pushing him to go to Hollywood. Winkler didn't think it was for him. He saw himself as a New York actor, grounded in stage work. But eventually, he agreed to try Los Angeles for 1 month, just a trial. He used the money from his commercials to fund the trip and brought his friend Perry King along for support. They landed in L.A. on September 18, 1973. Within 5 days, everything changed. Winkler got a guest role on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. It was a small part, but it aired on one of the most popular shows in the country. That moment cracked the door open. Auditions followed. Interest grew. Suddenly, Hollywood didn't feel so far away. That first role as an awkward dinner guest led to a second audition, and that second audition was for Happy Days. The part had just 6 lines. He wasn't what the creators were looking for. They wanted a tall, blonde heartthrob. Winkler was 5 feet 6 inches, dark-haired, and nothing like that. Still, he was called back for one more try. On October 30th, the day of his birthday, he walked into the room, put on a leather jacket, changed his voice, read the lines, then threw the script in the air and walked out without another word. Everyone in the room just stared. Later that same day, he got the call. The role was his. But he made one request. He didn't want to just play a cool guy. He wanted to show that this character had a heart. That bold audition not only gave him the job, it changed television history. When Happy Days aired in January 1974, Winkler's Fonzie was just supposed to be a sidekick. And in the very first episode, the script told him to stand in front of a mirror and comb his hair, like every other 1950s greaser. But Winkler thought that was too obvious. So when the cameras rolled, he raised the comb, looked in the mirror, nodded like a king, and put the comb away. His message was clear. Fonzie didn't need to fix his hair. It was already perfect. The producers pushed back, but Winkler held his ground. That small move became the essence of Fonzie's charm. Quiet, confident, and effortlessly cool. It was a moment of instinct that turned the character from a background role into a star. But that cool image almost never got off the ground because of one thing: his jacket. The network was scared that letting Fonzie wear leather would make him look like a criminal. So for the entire first season, they made Winkler wear cloth jackets, including one in bright green that looked completely wrong. Gary Marshall, the show's director, had an idea. He convinced ABC that Fonzie could wear leather, but only if he was near his motorcycle, for safety reasons. So Marshall started putting Fonzie's motorcycle into nearly every scene. Sometimes it made no sense, but it worked. By season 2, the leather jacket was permanent. It became so iconic that in 1980, Winkler donated one to the Smithsonian, where it still sits as a piece of American pop culture. That motorcycle, though, came with a secret. Henry Winkler couldn't ride it, not even a little. In fact, he was terrified of motorcycles. He only rode it once, uphill, for 17 seconds. And that was it. One day on set, they asked him to move the bike just a few feet. Because of his dyslexia, he couldn't tell the controls apart. He twisted the throttle, couldn't find the brake, and shot forward. The camera crew dove out of the way. He and the bike slid under a truck. The producers rushed over, not to check on him, but to see if the rented bike was damaged. After that, they came up with a trick. They put the motorcycle on a wooden board with rubber wheels and pulled him around like a toddler in a wagon. Ironically, the bike itself had a famous past. It was the same one Steve McQueen used in The Great Escape. Back when Happy Days started in January 1974, Fonzie was never meant to be a star. In the pilot, he had only 6 lines. Richie Cunningham, played by Ron Howard, was supposed to be the focus. But in December of that same year, everything changed. A Christmas episode put Fonzie in the spotlight, and the audience went wild. When Winkler went on a publicity tour, more than 20,000 screaming fans mobbed a department store in Dallas just to see him. The ratings shot up. ABC saw the numbers and started reshaping the show around Fonzie. They even thought about renaming it Fonzie's Happy Days. By season 3, he was the lead. At Christmas, the network gave all the cast members matching wallets. Winkler got a VCR worth thousands. Ron Howard later said he felt pushed to the side on his own show. But Fonzie kept growing. His leather jacket went to the Smithsonian. His catchphrases, "Ay," and "Sit on it," were repeated in every home. In 1999, TV Guide ranked him the 4th greatest TV character of all time. When Happy Days ended in 1984, Henry Winkler was one of the most famous faces in America. But once the cameras stopped rolling, his phone stopped ringing. For nearly 10 years, no one wanted to hire him. He was the Fonz and nothing else. Directors couldn't see past the leather jacket, the catchphrases, or the cool guy image. Henry said it caused psychic pain that was debilitating. Even with a loving family and a roof over his head, he felt lost. He had turned down the lead in Grease, a decision meant to avoid typecasting. But it didn't matter. In every audition room, all they saw was Fonzie. And it broke him. But Henry didn't give up. Instead, he pivoted. While still on Happy Days, he had quietly started his own company, Fair Dinkum Productions. By 1987, he had a deal with a major studio. He wasn't just acting anymore. He was producing real projects. One of the biggest was MacGyver, which exploded into a hit and even won a Genesis Award in 1991. He also helped bring to life The Sure Thing, Sightings, and So Weird. His name started appearing in the credits again, not in front of the camera, but behind it. That was enough to keep him in the game. Then he made another leap, directing. In 1988, he directed Memories of Me, a heartfelt movie with Billy Crystal. 5 years later, he directed Cop and a Half starring Burt Reynolds. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was made by Ron Howard's company. Yes, that Ron Howard, his old friend from Happy Days. Slowly, Henry was proving himself again, this time without the Fonz. At the same time, something unexpected happened. He won an Emmy. It wasn't for acting. It was for directing and producing a CBS school break special in 1984 starring Scott Baio. It tackled serious teen issues and earned him a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Children's Special. It was a lifeline. While Hollywood kept turning him down as an actor, the industry was quietly recognizing his talent behind the scenes. He kept working in children's programming and picked up more awards. They didn't care if he was Fonzie. They just knew he could tell a story. While all this was happening, his personal life stayed rock solid. Henry married Stacy Weitzman in 1978. She had a young son, Jed, who already loved Fonzie before Henry even entered their lives. Together, they had 2 more children, Zoe in 1980 and Max in 1983. Now, decades later, they have 6 grandchildren. One of them, 11-year-old Ace, has a tradition with Henry, collecting shot glasses from every city Grandpa visits. Henry loves taking them all out to shows and dinners. When asked the secret to their marriage, he said it's about the ear, listening, not just loving. But behind the charm and success, Henry carried a secret pain that went back to childhood. One night, When Jed was struggling with a school assignment, Henry scolded him, told him to live up to his potential. It felt eerily familiar. That's when he and Stacy got Jed tested. The diagnosis? Dyslexia. And suddenly, everything clicked. Henry realized, at age 31, that he had it too. All those years of struggling in school, all the yelling, the shame, the self-doubt. It wasn't laziness. It was something with a name. He was furious. He said, all the misery I'd gone through had been for nothing. While playing the coolest guy on TV, he had been failing quietly at the table reads, missing lines, stumbling through scripts, feeling like a fraud. His parents, who had escaped Nazi Germany, expected perfection. Instead, they called him lazy and stupid. The truth, he now knew, was very different. And it changed him. That diagnosis didn't just heal him. It drove him. Both of his children, Zoe and Max, were later diagnosed too. He became a loud, proud voice for dyslexia awareness, determined to make sure no kid went through what he had. And then he went even further. In 1990, Henry and Stacy joined forces with Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw to launch the Children's Action Network. Their mission? To help kids get immunized and find adoptive families. Over the years, they helped over 200,000 children get vaccinated. That work earned them the Norma Zarki Humanitarian Award. Henry didn't just survive Hollywood. He found a way to make it serve something bigger. And then came Adam Sandler. On December 3, 1994, Sandler sang the Chanukah song on Saturday Night Live and mentioned Fonzie as being one-quarter Jewish. That little joke changed everything. Henry called Sandler to thank him. That call turned into a friendship. That friendship turned into a lifeline. 4 years later, it saved his career. In 1998, Sandler was shooting The Water Boy when disaster struck. His actor for Coach Klein bailed at the last second. At 11:30 p.m., Sandler called Winkler in a panic. "Henry, I need a favor," he said. Winkler didn't hesitate. He shaved, drove to the set, and sat in makeup until 3:30 a.m. That overnight sprint led to a box office smash. The Waterboy made $190 million worldwide on just a $20 million budget. It was wild. Winkler joked later that while Sandler gave Maseratis to his grown-ups co-stars, all he got was a cookie. But the real gift was something else. He was back. That one role led to many more with Sandler. He showed up in Little Nicky, Click, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, and Sandy Wexler. But it wasn't just about comedy. Winkler finally had space to act again, and that space opened new doors. In 2003, Arrested Development gave him a new kind of spotlight. He was only supposed to appear once, but his character, Barry Zuckerkorn, a hilariously awful lawyer, became a regular. Winkler stayed for 5 years and 32 episodes. The show was full of smart in-jokes. In one scene, Barry jumped over a shark on a pier, referencing the infamous Fonzie moment that gave birth to the term jumping the shark. Then they brought in Scott Baio to replace Barry, just like in Happy Days. Baio even said, "This isn't the first time I've replaced Barry." Fans loved it. While he was leaning into comedy again, Winkler also reminded the world that he could do drama. On The Practice, between 1999 and 2000, he played Dr. Henry Olson, a serious, emotional role. It earned him an Emmy nomination, his first serious nod in almost 20 years. It came at a time when he was fighting hard to break out of the shadow of Fonzie. And it worked. But Winkler wasn't done surprising people. In Parks and Recreation, he played Dr. Lou Saperstein, a clueless, overly loving father to two of the wildest characters on the show. Jean-Ralphio and Mona Lisa were chaotic, and he encouraged every bit of it. When Mona Lisa shouted, "I have done nothing wrong ever," his reply was instant. "I know this, and I love you." His parenting style was a disaster, but it made for perfect comedy. He even tried to ruin Tom Haverford's business because of a fake story his kids told him. And in the finale, he helped them fake a death to start a casino in Tajikistan. That's the kind of unhinged support only Winkler could make believable and hilarious. Behind the camera, something else was happening. In 2003, he signed a small deal to write 2 children's books. Those 2 books became a franchise. Hank Zipser, a series about a kid with dyslexia, turned into 17 books. Then came Here's Hank, with 12 more. Then Ghost Buddies, Alien Superstar, and Detective Duck. That's 38 books in total. BBC even turned Hank Zipser into a show, and Winkler played Mr. Rock, a teacher based on someone who helped him as a child. The Christmas special aired in 2016. In 2022, HBO Max began streaming all of it. His storytelling reached kids all over the world, many who, like Winkler, struggled with dyslexia. Then came Barry. In 2016, Bill Hader asked HBO if they could get Winkler to audition. When Winkler heard, he worked with his son Max to prepare. The character, Gene Cousineau, was supposed to be cold and cynical, but Winkler brought heart to the role. He made Gene more human, still selfish, but with a soul. That performance finally earned him his first Emmy in 2018. He had been waiting 43 years. When he took the stage, he said, "I wrote this 43 years ago." The crowd stood. Then he added, "If you stay at the table long enough, the chips come to you." And tonight, I got to clear the table. He only had 19 seconds to talk, but he made every one of them count. The pandemic delayed Barry's 3rd season. Production shut down in March 2020. It took 2 years to restart. By the time filming resumed in 2022, Winkler was in his mid-70s and working under tight COVID protocols. Fewer people on set, constant testing, no audience. But it was worth it. Season 3 aired to rave reviews. Winkler kept delivering powerful performances, balancing dark comedy with real emotion. The awards followed. 2 Critics' Choice wins, 4 Emmy nominations, 4 SAG nominations, and 3 Golden Globe nods. His character's complicated grief, guilt, and growth made Gene one of the most unforgettable characters on TV. In September 2011, something special happened to Henry Winkler. Queen Elizabeth II honored him with an OBE, an honorary officer of the most excellent order of the British Empire. That's not something many Americans receive. But Winkler didn't get it for acting. He earned it for helping children in the UK who struggle with dyslexia and learning differences. This wasn't just a one-time visit. He spent years working with British schools. He was the campaign ambassador for My Way, a project that showed how kids learn in different ways. It was backed by the government and organized by a children's newspaper called First News. Winkler connected deeply with this cause because he knows the struggle. He wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia until he was 31. So when he spoke to kids at schools like Howard Primary in Croydon or during visits to Belfast, he wasn't just another celebrity. He was someone who had been through it. Kids listened because they saw someone like them. His message was simple: you're not broken, you just learn differently. That message, spoken from experience, left a real mark. The OBE wasn't just about fame, it was about the lives he touched and changed. That same empathy runs through his personal life. Winkler grew up feeling misunderstood. His dyslexia went unnoticed for years, and it affected how his parents treated him. So when he became a father, he made a choice to do things differently. He married Stacy Weitzman in 1978. They raised 3 children: Zoe, born in 1980, Max, born in 1983, and Jed, Stacy's son from a previous relationship. Winkler once said, "I love the idea of being able to listen and not reproduce my own parents." That idea shows in how he treats his grandchildren, too. He has 6 of them now: India, Ace, Lulu, Jules, Gus, and Francis Joan, and a 7th on the way. When little Ace wants to go to McDonald's, Winkler doesn't just take him. First, he calls Zoe, Ace's mom, to ask if it's okay. He still respects her role as a parent. There's a story about Max that stuck with Winkler. Max was doing homework with music playing. At first, Henry didn't get it. But then he realized maybe the music wasn't a distraction. Maybe it helped Max block out the noise of the world. That changed how he thought about learning. He saw that his kids had their own ways of focusing, just like he did. Zoe had her own struggles too. She was the last in her class to learn to read. But today, she's a preschool teacher in Santa Monica. She turned that struggle into something powerful. Winkler's love goes beyond grades or roles. One of his grandchildren loves Barbies and sometimes wears dresses. Some might raise eyebrows. Winkler doesn't. He just smiles and says, "You get on the canoe and paddle down that river." To him, it's simple. Every child deserves to be loved exactly as they are.